G'day everyone. This video, what we're doing is my Trainsmash dry spider, which is a little dry fly that I pulled together. Pulls a couple of techniques. It's pretty straightforward to tie, and it works really well on rough water. Yeah, so we'll get on into it. It's a pretty straightforward fly to tie. The hook I use for this is a Woodcock 301 in size 12. So it's a pretty straightforward hook. Any dry fly hook will work. The body itself is made out of this a blend of dubbing that which is what I call Trainsmash, hence its name. So the dubbing itself is a mix of CDC offcuts. So when you finish trimming off your CDC and the bits and pieces you don't use from other flies, then I just put that into a little Ziploc bag and don't really care what colour it is. It just whatever ends up in there. And once I've got enough, I pull that out and I mix it with Snowshoe Hare's foot in a couple of different colours, and you can vary the different colours of Snowshoe and even the CDC for that matter to make different different shades of the body. It also has a little bit of Swiss CDC Arctic fur in there in a few different colours, and a little bit of Kapok as well. Now the Kapok, is not necessarily easy to get. If you can get it, great. If you don't, it doesn't really matter. The CDC and the Snowshoe Hare are probably the two main ingredients. And look, you put it all together in about a sort of equal part mix, depending on what colours you want and what shades you have and etc. But it's entirely up to you. But it's a big mashup of a variety of different colours, and then hence why it's called the Trainsmash. So that's the main constituent part for the body. For the hackle, I use two hackles. The first is a cock hackle, just a everyday sort of natural cock hackle. For this one I'm using a Greenwell's cock hackle, but you could use whatever you have, and you need a reasonable quality cock hackle. And the cock hackle just gives it a little bit of buoyancy at the front end, several turns of that. And then the other bit that I use on it is Woodcock, and the front end is a Woodcock covert. So a nice marked one that sits at the front there. So that's the ingredients for it, all the materials for it. The thread, any thread you want. I'm using brown Woodcock thread, but that's about it really, and it's pretty straightforward to tie. So first up, we get the hook and the vise nice and tight, and then we'll just come in and catch in with the thread, and then take away the waste piece. And then from this point on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a dubbing loop, and so I'm going to make a dubbing loop here of probably about 3 inches, I guess, and catch that in, and then secure that down as I bring the thread back down towards the bend. And I'm going to stop the bend, stop just basically as we go around the bend, or around about where the thread would be hanging if a barb was in there. So just to keep things out of the way, I'm going to connect up my dubbing spinner. So I've just got a dubbing spinner here, and hold that in the loop, and then just park it to one side. And then I'm going to bring the thread back, and I want to stop the thread about 2 mil, a good 2 mil back from the eye. Okay, now what you'll find is when you spin up the body, it'll bulk up, and you really need to leave yourself room for a couple of hackles. So a good 2, maybe even 3 mil back from the body, from the eye, I should say. So that's where we're going to stop. So once we've got it in there, we're just going to come in with the dubbing and the on the dubbing loop. Now you'll notice I'm not using any wax. There's no need to use wax as far as I'm concerned on this, but anyway, it's entirely up to you. So I'm going to be generous. Now you want to be generous with the dubbing. You can pull some of this away, but the idea here is to get a really nice thick dubbing loop, so that you get all that CDC and Snowshoe Hare working its action, and keeping the fly up and afloat. So a nice big dubbing loop, plenty of material. You can see there I've got lots of material on this. And you want a dubbing loop that's going to be about an inch, inch and a half long. Ooh, just loop spinners come off anyway. But so we'll just get this in here, readjust that, and then spin that up. Now, you want to try and make a fairly tight dubbing loop, and this is why I use a dubbing loop as opposed to split thread, so that the material stays nice and firm. So once we've got that, then I'm just going to roll that through and bring that forward in sort of touching turns, if you like. And just as I'm coming forward, I'm just pulling the material back against itself, just so I form a nice dense body there. And I'm just going to keep coming forward until I get up to the thread. Now you can, sort of make these whatever size you like. I find a size 12 works pretty well, but if you want to go smaller, then you can certainly go smaller. Some of that waste out of the way. Right, so now I'm back up to the thread, and I just make sure that everything's nice and firm and packed back, and I'm just using my fingernail here to connect that. I'm just going to come in, I'm going to catch that dubbing loop in with a couple of turns. And lock that down. And I'm just going to come around and then take away that waste piece. Get rid of the hackle, the spinner. Right, now what I'm going to do here is I'm just pulling the materials back and just taking away some of those stray bits with my fingers, and just drawing all the stuff back away from the eye and making sure that I've got a reasonably clean space to sort of come in and connect up and put these hackles on. Right, so the first one to go on is the cock hackle, and the size of the cock hackle is entirely up to you. I usually go for something that's around about the gape of the hook, or a little bit bigger. Not too dissimilar to if you're doing a sort of standard dry fly. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to tie it in by the butt, and I'm just going to pull some of the fibres away from the base. And a few more. And then I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to catch in 2 or 3 turns. Just get the butt up and lock that hackle in. Trim away the waste. So now with my hackle pliers or my clip, I'm just going to run in and hackle the fly. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep all the hackle right up close to that dubbing, and even wrapping it back in on itself if I have to, and pretty much using up the large proportion of the hackle. Once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to come in and a couple of turns to catch that hackle, one in front just to lock it back. Right, trim away the tip. Now, the Woodcock. Now this can be a reasonably sized hackle. The intent here with the Woodcock is the soft hackles sort of hang out on the surface and start to give the impression of the legs of the insect. So you don't have to use a really small one. You don't have to use these small ones down in the front here, on the shoulder. You can come back and use some of these bigger ones. So I'm just going to take a hackle off that wing. So something about this size, you don't have to be really too shy about the length of the hackles on these ones. So I'm just going to clean away the fluff at the back, and then I'm going to come in with my tweezers and catch the tip of the hackle, and then pull the fibres back. So I'm after the longer ones, I'm not really after the smaller ones. So I can afford to come back a bit. Now once I've got that, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to take away this piece here and leave myself a small triangle to tie in. So a little tip of the hackle here to try to tie in. So once I've got that, I'll come in, catch that tip in. Oh, just decided not to play the game. I'm just going to catch that tip in with 2 or 3 turns. Once I've got the tip in, come with the hackle pliers on the butt and then just gently drawing those fibres back, and I'm going to hackle this with probably 2 or 3 turns, not too dissimilar to as if you're doing a spider or a soft hackle fly. And you can hackle it as much or as little as you like. I tend to find that a reasonable amount of hackling works well. A couple of turns to catch it in, remove that clip, and then draw everything back and come in with several turns and lock it all down. Okay, so from here, I'm just going to grab this butt and trim away my waste piece. Get that out of the way. Draw the fibres back and then just do several turns to form a small head. And then once we're finished, in with the whip finisher and do 2 or 3 turns of whip finish, and might do a couple more just to be sure. A little bit of tension and trim away the thread. And that is the Trainsmash dry spider, and really effective I found on fast moving water as a dry. And you know, you can drop it over the top of currents and things and put it in little pockets, and it's been productive in that way. Or even just when you get caddis coming off and some of the bigger insects, and that's it. That's what it is, and that's what it looks like. Thanks for watching.